Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do an unboxing and a hardware overview on the Zotac ZBOX BI320, and this is the basic series. This is a bare bones mini PC, and basically why I'm buying this is because I'm going to use it as a Linux server to replace a Linux server I'm currently running on a netbook, an Acer netbook. Now, reasons for doing this are plenty. The Acer netbook's been doing that job now for, I don't know, two years, 2.5 years, and it's getting pretty tired. The fan's starting to make noise, and it's not that quick. It does the job, but it's just not that quick. Now, this I bought for $110 on Amazon, complete with everything that you see here. Basically, the computer, the power supply, and that's basically all you get with this bare bones machine. You're going to have to add a hard drive. I'm going to use a 2.5-inch hard drive. That's all you can use, actually. You need to use a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, and you need to use SODIMM memory in it as well. And it's specific, but I'll put a link to both the both the hard drive and the memory stick that I use in this machine. Now, reason I bought it: number one, it's got dual core processors. They're Intel Celeron 2957Us, and again, they're dual core and they're 1.4 gigahertz. But on top of all that, they're 64-bit. So my netbook is only a 32-bit dual core, and it has a lot of drawbacks in the sense that it only has USB 2 ports. This has USB 4 ports. You can see it right back here, and this has 6 total USB ports. My netbook only has 3, and again, like I said, the netbook only has USB 2. This has 4 USB 3 and 2 USB 2 ports, so it's plenty of outside expandability. Why does that matter? Well, all my hard drives that I plug into that netbook are running on external USB enclosures. So now I'm going to get these upgraded to USB 3 by using these ports, and so that's a speed increase there. Number two, I go from 64-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit. I also go from the network card on this mini PC, or this bare bones PC, is also a 1 gigabit card, where my netbook only has a 100 megabit card. So I get upgrades in speed all the way across, and this only cost me $110 delivered from Amazon. What a steal. So let's go open it up, see what we got inside. And we got the Zotac. Well, that looks like manuals and things. Let's see what we got. Well, we got the warranty terms. It says 1 year in the United States, 2 years in Europe, and looks like 1 year everywhere else. ZBox driver installation disc, pretty standard stuff. So if you're running Windows on it, that's what you're going to put on it. I'm running Linux, Ubuntu, so I don't have to worry about it. User's manual, flick through it here, pretty basic. Gives you all the specifications right there. See if I can bring them up. And again, it's got SATA 6 gigabits per second transfer rate, so it's pretty quick for what it's going to do. And for my purpose, it's definitely going to be a step up. Quick start guide tells you what's going on with it, and then 15 different languages. So cool. Then we have the actual mini PC itself, and nicely wrapped. It's sealed with a Zotac sticker there. We'll pull it out and see what it looks like. There it is. And as you can see, it's got a nice plastic film on it to protect it. I'm definitely taking that off, because you can see here it's covering the cooling holes on that. And on the top, well, it's not covering anything, so I might just leave that on there. Then we have the ports. So we have, what do we have here? A DVI. So let's put it this way here. I guess it doesn't really matter. A DVI port, 4 USB ports that are USB 3, the 1 gigabit port, network port, HDMI, power, and optical audio out. Let's go to the side. Well, there's another USB port right there, and this is the one of the USB 2s. You can tell which ones are the 2s by the orange or the yellow tang on the inside. And then we have another USB port here. Power, micro SD, and I believe the micro SD is it's a 6-in-1. The micro SD memory card reader is a 6-in-1 SD, SDHC, MS, MS Pro, XD, and MMC port. We have an audio card, and that is it doesn't actually tell you what it is, but audio is analog stereo outputs, and digital 8-channel via DVI HDMI adapter. So you do get a major audio support through the HDMI port. Then you have the base, where the part where the base slides into it. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. Get the rest of the hardware out of here. I'll take this off of there, and we have the base, which I'll be attaching in a minute. We have a power brick, and it looks pretty standard. Output is 19 volts, 3.89 amps. So, and it is universal at 100 or to 200 volts AC. So, pretty standard. As you can see, that's a very small brick, so it won't be using that much power. Power cord for the brick. I'm sure you'll get a different one depending on what area of the world you live in. Okay, so that's it for the box. Let's look at the actual hardware itself. We've already done the overview of the outside. So the way you take this apart, you take these 2 thumb screws off. There they go. Put them to the side, and then slide the top in that direction. And again, make sure you take this protective cover off, because it does cover the cooling holes there. We have a small fan, which was one of my only concerns with it, you know, that we have a internal fan. It's a moving component. I would have preferred a heat sink, but a heat sink takes more space up than this. Now, 2 slots for your DDR memory, which is a great thing. So you can put a 4 gig in here or 4 gig in there, up to 16 gigs. So you can put up to 16 gigs in these. You don't have to populate both of them. You only need to populate one at a time. So that's great. Here's your hard drive bay. So I'm going to unscrew the lock. There we go. Lift it up. And the hard drive is really simple to install. We'll just put it in there like this. Slides in, drop it down, put the lock over the top, and that's it. It's installed. Now, memory. I'm using Kingston memory I got from Amazon. Again, I'll put the link for that in the description. I like Kingston memory because it's guaranteed for life. This is a 4 gig DIMM, so basically just put it in at an angle like that and drop it down. I'm not sure which one of the bays is 1 or 2, but it's up to you. I'm going to put it in the lower bay, and there's 2 little lock clips on the side that release it. I'll put it back in again. And seems to be more of a... Okay, here we go. So there we go. Top, clicks down, done. So that's it for the hardware and the hardware installation into this machine. Nice to see. We have a standard BIOS battery in there, plus a internal beeper. You see right there, it has its own microphone, or not microphone, a speaker. Probably just a beep on the BIOS or for BIOS beeps, so that's a bonus. Other than that, hardware looks pretty standard on the inside. Again, great deal for small server or even just a workstation. I think this would work great as a workstation. It's got built-in Intel chipset as well, and Intel graphics. So I'll put the specs or the link to the Zotac page in the video description as well. So let's put the cover back on. I'm going to peel that protective part off here. Nice plastic they're putting in on there, and it's got a nice finish. Rubber feet on the bottom, so you could actually make it go flat Make sure I'm getting this on there correctly. Yep, I am. All right, now I put the screws back in. And the base, pretty straightforward. Just take it out of the packaging here. And it just slides on that way. So just put it in, press it down. Alright. There we go. And now the system stands up. We're using the base. If you want to stand it up, use the base. It takes up less horizontal space that way, of course. You can sit down without the base on 4 rubber feet. And now I'm just going to power it up, show you it running, and just for a quick view of it. Alright, next I'm going to show you the BIOS on the Zotac BI320. Now I'm in the login screen for my Ubuntu 15.05, and the reason being is because by default you have a second on the boot screen to hit either escape or F8 or delete to get into the BIOS, and I'm going to hit the escape key, and I want to be able to show you that. By the way, any gradients you see on this screen are being caused by the fact that I'm videotaping a flat panel. The graphics on the screen that I'm looking at with my eye are beautiful, clear, and without any banding on the gradients at all. Really, really nice graphic quality on the built-in video card from Intel. So let's do the shutdown and reboot. Okay, and there's a pretty quick reboot. And then you hit the escape key when you see the flash, splash screen. You know, 1 second is maybe enough for you or not. You can adjust that, and I will show you that. So let's do an overview on the BIOS. Here's the main screen. It shows you you know, overview of what's going on with the machine. And if you scroll down, you will see that you also have the option to change the language, time, and date. Actually, I tried to change the language and it does not allow me to do so. I'll try it again. Here, hit the minus or the plus and nothing happens. Even if I hit enter here, it only gives you one option. So you only have the option of English. So next tab is OC, which I believe is referring to overclocking. I don't suggest you do that unless you're a gambling person and you know what you're doing, or you accept the fact that you might wiener your computer and it may never turn on again. I just leave it set on auto as you see there. I'm not going to fool around with these things, and I'm not going to show you how to fool around with these things. I don't think it's a wise idea. Then you get into the features tab. You get your onboard device config. So I'm going to hit enter on that. That you know, pertains to your GigaLAN controller, your Azalea configuration. Again, these are the default settings, and I'm leaving them on the defaults because they're working just fine for me. HDMI audio works great on this too. It does send the audio through the HDMI cable to the to my flat panel, no problem at all. And I want my LAN controller to be enabled because that's how I'm you know, connecting it to the network. So since I'm going to be using this as a server, I'm leaving these alone. Now, next one is storage configuration. Well, these are the default settings. Again, they're working for me, so I'm not going to fool with them. If you want to change them, you can do that. Now, there's one setting here that you may have to change, and that is the hard disk drive. It says SATA device type. It says hard disk drive. If you go down to it and hit enter, you'll see that there's a solid state drive setting. So if you have a solid state drive setting, more than likely you're going to have to set that in there. I don't, so I'm just leaving it alone, and I'm just showing you. Next, CPU configuration. Hit enter, and you see all the settings here. You know, again, unless you know what you're doing, do not play with this. Okay, you want to overclock something, get something that's overclock friendly. I just leave all these in the default settings, and that guarantees me the least amount of trouble. So I'm just going to hit escape here. USB configuration, we'll go on to that. And again, this is a default setting, and it's working for me just fine. USB 3 support is on. Everything here is working beautifully with what I have. I'm very happy with how it's working. I've actually plugged in an old USB
Wi-Fi card I had, because this computer does not have Wi-Fi built in, but the USB Wi-Fi antenna or dongle or card that I have plugged into this beautifully and connected me to my network at 150 megabits per second, which is its highest setting. So USB 3 is working on that, and I'm very happy. Now, I believe I bought that for about $5 too, so I'm really happy with that price. So if I can find it on Amazon, I'll put a link to it. You know, again, I wouldn't fool with any of these because all of these are working just fine for me. So the default setting is great. So let's escape out of that. Display configuration. This is another one where I'm using this as a server, and for the most part, it won't have a monitor hooked up to it at all. Ever. Once I set it up, it's going to be running as a server. I'll be, logging into it through SSH or VNC. So there's no need for me to do any of the tweaking on the graphics. If you're going to use the graphics card a little more intensively, I'd suggest getting a more powerful graphics card. But if you want to play with it, here it is. So I'm leaving these on the defaults. So let's go to next to the PC health. So I'm going to hit escape here. Okay, no, not escape, but the tab over. And PC health just shows you what's going on with the machine. 43 Celsius, CPU, fan speed, CPU temperature, all these core things. Now, if you're overclocking it, you may want to know about all that stuff, but I'm not. I'm leaving it with the defaults again. CPU fan smart mode, again, leaving that on auto. You can play with that if you want at your own risk. Power. This is an important tab, especially if you're running this as a server, but it's also important if you're running it as a workstation. Enable hibernation. Okay, that's fine. That's, I don't have a problem with that. It's working fine with me. I just leave that alone. Okay. Now, restore from AC power loss. Let's go down here to that one. This is an important setting, especially if you're running it as a server. What this means is that if the power goes off while your server is on, while you're running this thing as a server, when it goes off and it comes back on, the computer will automatically turn back on if you have this set to the right setting. Now, this setting here says restore from AC power loss. Well, if the power goes off, or you have a UPS on this and the power goes off and it's a longer power outage than your UPS can handle, your server will turn off. And when the power comes back on, it will stay off because that's the setting that you've got set here. So let's go hit enter here. And you see that you have 3 settings. Well, I'm going to switch it to power on, which means no matter what, if the power goes off and the power comes back on, the power on this computer will automatically turn on. So if I unplug it accidentally and plug it back in, it turns itself back on. I don't have to touch it. It will repower itself. And if I'm away from the house and the power goes off and it comes back on again, it will repower itself and boot itself up to an operating state again. Now, so I'm choosing power on. The third setting here is last state, as you can see there. And last state means that if you power off the computer and then unplug it, when you plug it back in, it'll stay on the powered off. Right? If it's powered on and it gets unplugged and you plug it back in, it'll power back on again. So it remembers its last state, and then when the power comes back, it chooses that state. I'm going with the power on because I don't care what reason it turns off. I want it to turn back on. So I'm going to hit enter on that. And logo indicator, well, it's up to you. Wake up on LAN is another important feature for me because I want to be able to wake this machine up from the LAN. If I shut it down, or instead of restarting and I tell it to shut down and not reboot, then I won't be able to reboot it unless I A, turn the power off, or B, set this wake on LAN and send it the signal to turn on. So I want this on. So I'll go enter and enabled. Again, a workstation of this would be nice as well. If you want to remotely access it, you can actually turn it on with a wake on LAN command. RTC wake up settings, kind of an interesting setting, so I'm just going to cover that quickly. This is like an alarm, This is like an alarm for your computer. And what it allows it to do is to set a time that you want, your computer to turn on. And as it says on the description on the right, enable or disable system wake on alarm event. When enabled, a system will wake up on the hour, minute, and second specified. Pretty cool. but I certainly don't need the feature. I just wanted to show it to you as I think it's pretty neat. Then I'm going to hit disabled here because I want to keep that disabled. And the next tab is another important tab, the boot options. Now you can see here by default that it's set to setup prompt timeout for 1 second. Okay, that's pretty quick. For the most part, if you're not going to be in the BIOS after you've set it, that's okay to leave it there. If you want to be able to get into the BIOS without having to rush at it, you can just change that number, and you can do that by hitting the plus key. All right, so setting the prompt timeout to 5 is fine for me. Number lock state, boot number lock state, well, it's up to you what you set that to. That just sets number pad on or off. It's up to you. ME update control, again, settings we don't need to go into. We're not going into management. It's some sort of Intel management engine thing, and we're not interested in going there. And you shouldn't be there unless you know what you're doing there. Security settings, again, up to you. I'm leaving mine blank because I don't want to put a password in here I can't get rid of or I forget, because then it's on some machines it basically pooches your computer. If you can't answer the password, it won't boot. So unless you know what you're doing here and you're going to keep that password somewhere where you're never going to lose it, don't play with that. I don't need this kind of security. No one but me is going to have access to this computer. So legacy boot parameters, we'll hit enter here and just take a look. These don't matter to me. I don't need them. They work just fine by defaults. These again, these are the legacy settings here, and I'm leaving them that way. It's up to you. PXC, I believe, is the ability to boot off a network card without a without a disk drive or with a disk drive inside your computer. Next, I'm just skipping over the things that, if you don't know what they are, it doesn't really matter. I don't know what some of these are, and the machine works great. Just leave it alone. Full screen logo, up to you whether you do that or not. Fast boot, again, enables or disables boot with initialization of a minimal set of devices required to launch active boot option. Has no effect for BBS boot option. So that's where we're going to next. Now, boot option. You can tell it not to boot off the hard drive right here. So you can say, okay, don't boot off the hard drive. And then if you're booting off something else, it will only boot off of that or not boot at all. So I'm leaving that alone because I want to boot off that hard drive. Now, when I was on the Amazon reviews, I saw some people give this PC a bad review because they said you couldn't choose what device you're going to boot off. It was either going to boot off the USB only or it's going to boot off the hard drive only, and you can't choose it. Not true. And I may correct those questions and answers myself because they're giving this thing a bad name it doesn't require or doesn't need. So here's how you change the drive priorities or the boot sequence that you're going to have. I'm going to hit enter here, and you'll see that I have two options. That's because I have two devices plugged into the thing. I have boot option 2, which is the SanDisk Cruiser Glide, which is a USB thumb drive, and I have the Hitachi HTS 54321, which is my 160 gig internal 2.5-inch SATA drive. I'm leaving it with this boot order because that's the way I want it. Now, but if you want to change the boot order just temporarily, you can just go here and just say, all right, I'm going to hit on Hitachi here, enter, and then just choose SanDisk Cruiser Glide, and it'll just switch the two, okay? And again, if you want to do it again, hit enter again, choose the Hitachi, and that's it. That becomes the boot option 1. So you can change it, and it can boot off a USB thumb drive, no problem at all. So dispelling that little myth from Amazon. Another thing also is that if you hit F8 when you're booting your computer, you will have an option to choose which boot device you want to go to, including the option to go to setup as well. So I'm going to hit escape here. Next, we're going to go to the next screen, which allows you to save all these settings, okay? Or, if you wanted to, you could hit save. You could just hit F10 here to save and exit. F10, boom. You want to save configuration and exit? Okay. The other option you have is F9, which will take you back to your default optimized settings. Okay, so I'm not doing that. If you want to go back, just hit F9 and you'll go back to what you got when you got the machine out of the box. Here I'm going to say save configuration and exit, and then I'm going to hit F8 to show you those options. Okay, you hear the beep? And now I should have 5 seconds to hit the button, and it looks like I do, so I'm going to hit F8. And there you go. So it's here, select your boot device. Well, you have the Hitachi, you have the SanDisk Cruiser Glide, which is my USB, or enter setup. Well, we're going to hit the SanDisk Cruiser Glide, hit enter here, just to show you that you can boot, and you can choose to boot off a USB stick or a USB device. And you can also set it to do it automatically, or as I just showed you by hitting F8, you can choose what to boot from. So let's go to Linux distributions, and then obviously the nice thing about this machine is a 64-bit processor, so you can choose 64-bit operating systems here. We'll go with Ubuntu and hit enter, and it will boot into Ubuntu. Here you get the option, try it without installing, so you know I'm running off a USB thumb drive, and it's working just fine. So that's how you boot off a USB stick, or how you can actually manually automatically set it to do so if that's what you want. So here I'm just booting into Ubuntu, and it's really not important. I'm going to reboot here, and then I'm going to go into the default, which will be the hard drive on inside the mini PC. Then I'm going to show you some 1080p that I've shot, and you know, so you can see the quality of that as best as you can see with the rig that I have currently set up. It's actually excellent. There's no skipping, there's no jumping. Run it on YouTube and on off the hard drive, and either way it displays a crystal clear display without any jerkiness or gradients on the screen. So it's really nice quality, and really nice internal video card on this little mini PC. I think it's more than adequate for a workstation, and even for a small server like I'm going to use it. I wouldn't say it's adequate for heavy graphic applications like gaming or video editing, but that's not what I'm using it for. Okay, so next we're going to boot into Ubuntu, and I'm going to show you the 1080p performance. All right, here we are inside Ubuntu. I got a few video clips here I'm going to show you, and as you can see, the video is crystal clear on the desktop and on my monitor. Like I said, any kind of gradient banding that you see is being caused by the way I'm filming this. So I'm just going to open this up and show you what it looks like. There's just some driving footage I did today. I can't show you anything off YouTube or the internet because then you get into copyright issues, but just wanted to show you how smooth it is at full screen and 1080p. As you can see, nice and clear, as clear as my little Mobius dash cam is going to give you. I have another one, some time lapse that I did with my DSLR, and I'll show you that next. And I mean, this is so clear I can see the drops on the windshield. So, you know, they're very minor drops, of course, but as you can see, hey, it's working just great here. So I'll let it roll a little more here. Rainy Texas day, which is lately not a rare thing, but usually a very rare thing. All right, so we'll get out of this, and I'll show you my time lapse I did with my DSLR, so you can see how nice and clear that is on this graphics display. Again, quite impressed with the little mini PC from Zotac, the BI320. So I'll close this off here, and we'll go here to this one. Again, like I said, gradients are not the cause of the video card, they're caused by how I'm actually filming this. So here's a nice time lapse of some clouds going by my house, and as you can see, crystal clear, very smooth. Any jerk there is in this is because it's time lapse. So other than that, it's excellent. So there's my short review and overview on the Zotac ZBOX mini PC, and that is the model number BI-320. That's it for my video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a favor, click on the like button right down here, and
you know, if you wish to subscribe to my channel, just click on this link up here, and that should subscribe you to the Richard Lloyd channel, or Richard Lloyd USA channel. Okay, again, thank you very much for your time and watching.